Aita for making Christian art without being Christian myself? Okay, so I'm really torn about this situation and I need some outside perspective because my friends are kind of split and I'm starting to second guess myself. I'm an artist who does commissioned artwork, and I recently had a weird fallout with a client over a piece I did for him. The core issue? He got upset when he found out I'm not Christian after commissioning me to do a piece with Christian themes. He says I should have disclosed that up front, and now I'm wondering if I was wrong for not doing so. Aita here? Let me break it down. For context, I'm 28, female, and I've been doing freelance art for about 5 years now. I mostly work through online platforms like Etsy and Instagram, where I post my portfolio and take commissions. My style is pretty versatile, think detailed line work, vibrant colors, and a bit of a modern twist on traditional themes. I've done everything from fantasy dragons to pet portraits to abstract stuff for corporate offices. I'm not picky about the subject matter as long as it's not, like, hateful or creepy. My hard lines are no racist, homophobic, or sexually explicit stuff. Basically, if it's gross or harmful, I'm out. Otherwise, I'm game for pretty much anything a client wants, whether it's a superhero fan art or a family crest. I've always prided myself on being professional. I communicate clearly, send sketches for approval, and make sure the client gets exactly what they're envisioning. My reviews are solid, 4.9 stars on Etsy, and I've got a bunch of repeat clients who love my work. I don't usually get into personal stuff with clients because, well, it's a business transaction, not a therapy session. They tell me what they want, I deliver, they pay, we all move on with our lives. That's how it's always worked, and I've never had an issue, until now. So, this whole thing started about 3 months ago. I got a message through my website from a guy I'll call Mark, not his real name, obviously. Mark seemed nice enough in his initial email, polite, to the point, and clear about what he wanted. He said he was looking for a custom piece for his home office, something with Christian iconography because he's very devout and wanted it to reflect his faith. Specifically, he asked for an ornate cross with some floral elements, a depiction of Saint Francis, because he loves animals, and a specific Bible verse in calligraphy. He even sent me a reference image of a similar piece he'd seen online and said he wanted it in my style, with lots of detail and a warm, spiritual vibe. Cool, no problem. I quoted him my usual rate for a piece that size, 16 by 20 inches, digital with a high-quality print, and he agreed right away. I sent him my standard commission agreement, he signed it, paid the deposit, and we were off to the races. Now, I should mention that I'm not religious myself. I was raised in a vaguely spiritual household, my mom's into yoga and crystals, my dad's an atheist who just shrugs at anything metaphysical, but I've never been part of any organized religion. I don't have anything against Christianity or any other faith, it's just not my thing. I've always seen my job as an artist to capture what the client wants, not to inject my own beliefs, or lack thereof, into the work. I've done religious art before, mostly Christian stuff, like crosses or angels, because that's what a lot of people commission. I've also done a few pieces with Hindu deities for a client in India and a mandala for a Buddhist meditation center. I approach all of these with the same mindset, do the research, respect the subject matter, and make something beautiful that the client will love. For Mark's piece, I dove in with my usual process. I researched Saint Francis to get the iconography right. He's often shown with animals, so I included a dove and a wolf in the design. I looked up the Bible verse he wanted, John 3 verse 16, super famous one, and practiced the calligraphy to make sure it was elegant but readable. The cross was the centerpiece, so I spent hours sketching out intricate floral patterns to give it that ornate, almost medieval vibe he asked for. I sent him progress updates along the way, rough sketch, line art, color mock-up, and he was thrilled at every step. He'd reply with stuff like, "This is exactly what I had in mind," and "You're so talented, I can't wait to see the final piece." Honestly, it felt like a dream commission. No revisions, no nitpicking, just a client who was happy with the direction. The whole process took about 3 weeks, and when I sent him the final digital file and shipped the print, he was over the moon. He emailed me saying it was perfect and that he'd already hung it in his home office. He even sent a photo of it on the wall, which looked awesome if I do say so myself. He paid the remaining balance promptly, and I thought that was that. I was already mentally moving on to my next project, a fantasy book cover for another client, when I got a follow-up email from Mark a few days later. This is where things got weird. His email was super casual at first, like, "Hey, just wanted to say again how much I love the artwork." But then he asked, out of nowhere, "By the way, what's your favorite Bible verse?" I'm always curious what inspires artists who do this kind of work. I read that and froze for a second. I mean, it's not like I've never gotten personal questions from clients before. Some ask about my inspiration or my art background, but this felt loaded. I didn't want to lie, because I'm a terrible liar and it feels icky to fake something like that. Plus, I didn't think it was a big deal. So I replied, trying to keep it light but honest, "Oh, I don't really have a favorite scripture, since I'm not Christian and wouldn't know which ones I'd like best. I'm just happy to create art that means something to you." I hit send and didn't think much of it. I figured he'd either drop it or maybe ask a follow-up question about my process or something. But the next day, I got a long email from Mark, and the tone was completely different. He said he felt lied to and betrayed because he'd assumed I was Christian based on the fact that I'd posted Christian-themed artwork on my Instagram before. He said the piece doesn't hold the same spiritual value to him anymore because it wasn't made with faithful intention. He went on about how he'd specifically chosen me because he thought I'd understand the sacredness of the project, and now he felt like he'd been misled. He even said he was considering taking the artwork down because it didn't feel authentic anymore. I was floored. Like, what? I reread the email 3 times to make sure I wasn't misinterpreting it. I'd spent weeks pouring my heart into this piece, making sure every detail was perfect, and now he was acting like I'd scammed him because I don't go to church. I didn't even know how to respond at first. I showed the email to my best friend, Sarah, who's also an artist, and she was like, "Is this guy for real? You didn't lie about anything." My boyfriend, Jake, on the other hand, thought I should have just dodged the question or made up a scripture to avoid the drama. He's all about keeping the peace, but I don't think that's fair. I shouldn't have to pretend to be something I'm not just to make a client happy after the work is done. After a day of overthinking it, I wrote back to Mark. I kept it professional but firm. "I'm really sorry you feel that way, but I approach every commission with respect and care, regardless of the subject matter. My goal was to create a piece that matched your vision, and I'm glad you were happy with the result. I don't share my personal beliefs with clients because I believe the art should stand on its own." I thought that was a decent response, apologetic but clear that I didn't do anything wrong. He didn't reply, which I guess is better than another angry email, but it left me feeling unsettled. Here's where I'm stuck. Part of me gets why Mark might be disappointed. If faith is a huge part of his life, maybe he wanted the artwork to come from someone who shares that perspective. I can see how he might feel like the piece is less special if the artist doesn't believe in what it represents. But at the same time, I never claimed to be Christian. The only reason he assumed I was is because I've done Christian art before, but that's just because clients commission it. I've got Hindu, Buddhist, and even atheist-themed art in my portfolio too. Does that mean I have to disclose my entire spiritual resume to every client? That feels ridiculous. I'm an artist, not a priest. My job is to make the art, not to embody the client's worldview. I've been overthinking this for days now. I talked to my mom about it, and she thinks Mark's being unreasonable but suggested I could add a disclaimer to my commission form, like, "I create art for all themes and beliefs with respect." I'm not sure if that's overkill or if it would just make things weirder. Sarah, my artist friend, says I should just ignore it and move on, but she also thinks I should have been vaguer in my response to Mark's question to avoid the whole mess. Jake keeps saying I should have read the room and not told Mark I'm not Christian, which is starting to annoy me because it feels like he's saying I should have lied. I've even gone back and looked at my Instagram to see if I somehow gave off Christian vibes by accident. I have maybe 5 or 6 Christian-themed pieces in my portfolio, crosses, angels, a nativity scene from a Christmas commission last year, but they're mixed in with tons of other stuff. There's nothing in my bio or posts that says I'm Christian, and I don't think it's fair for someone to assume that just because I'm willing to draw a cross. I mean, I've drawn dragons too, and nobody assumes I believe in dragons. The more I think about it, the more frustrated I get. I put so much effort into Mark's piece, and he was happy with it until he found out I don't share his faith. It feels like he's judging me for something that has nothing to do with the quality of the work. At the same time, I'm wondering if I should have handled it differently. Maybe I could have been more tactful in my response, like saying, I don't have a favorite verse, but I love how meaningful this one is to you. Would that have been better? Or is that just dodging the truth to placate someone? I've been second-guessing whether I need to start disclosing my beliefs, or lack thereof, when taking commissions. But that feels like opening a can of worms. Do I have to tell every client I'm not Hindu when I draw a Ganesha? Or that I'm not a gamer when I do fan art of a video game character? It's not like I'm claiming to be an expert in their faith or fandom, I'm just doing my job. Plus, I don't even know how I'd bring it up without it sounding awkward. Hey, just so you know, I'm not Christian, but I'll still draw your cross. Like, what? I'm also worried about how this might affect my business. Mark hasn't left a review yet, but what if he trashes me online because of this? I've worked so hard to build my reputation, and the idea of someone saying I'm inauthentic because I'm not religious makes me sick to my stomach. I've even thought about reaching out to him again to smooth things over, but Sarah says that'll just make me look guilty, and I kind of agree. So, Reddit, I'm turning to you. Aita for not disclosing that I'm not Christian when I took this commission? Should I have been upfront about it, even though it never came up until after the work was done? Or is Mark overreacting by making my personal beliefs a deal-breaker? I'm honestly confused and could use some clarity. My friends are split, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm missing something here. What do you think?